As you arrive on your mat, sit in about the middle in a cross-legged posture. I'll be sitting in Siddhasana, but you might find Sukhasana is more comfortable for you. Find the place where you can sit tall comfortably and you have room for your lungs to expand in your rib cage. And then we're working with the mudra Pushpaputta, which is a great word. Pushpaputta translates to mean handful of flowers. So you're bringing the little finger side of your hands together with your elbows relaxed by your sides, hands level with your solar plexus or your elbows, and cupping your hands slightly, as though you're holding space not only to receive but also to offer back. And that's some of our theming in this winter practice, the cycle of things. And as you settle into your posture, take your gaze down towards the tip of your nose with your eyelids almost closed. If that is troublesome, then just look down towards your hands without going cross-eyed. And then breathe in and out through your nose. Find your deeper, more conscious breath. And we're going to work with a kumbhaka of the exhale, with suspending the breath out of the body. So this next time that you exhale, draw your belly back towards your spine. Empty all of the air out. Keep the breath held out of the body and pulse your belly. If that's not appropriate for you today, then just work with suspending the exhale without pulsing. If you're pulsing your belly, only do as many repetitions as completely as you can without struggle. So you're holding the breath out of the body, rib cage staying lifted, and pulsing the belly. So you're drawing the belly back towards the spine, up towards the ribs, and then relaxing it entirely, and then drawing it back, and then relaxing it entirely. Actioning your abdominal muscles to stimulate digestion, noticing how that feels with the breath held out. When you get to the point where you need to inhale, let the breath flow back in easily. And this next time that you inhale, close your eyes and take your cross-eyed gaze inwards and upwards towards Ajna Chakra, the third eye point between the eyebrows. And now, instead of pulsing, just engage Mula Bandha and hold Mula Bandha on the suspended exhale. Take your time to inhale, to fill completely, and then to empty completely. And sitting with that emptiness, noticing what it feels like to be empty, and also to have that engagement right at the base of the spine as you take your gaze upwards towards the third eye point. We're going to change the drishti, the gaze, one more time. So this next time that you inhale, you release Mula Bandha. Take your gaze up towards the very top of your head, as though you have a skylight in the top of your head and you could see the sky above. And when you exhale next, suspend the breath out as you've been doing, but don't engage Mula Bandha. Just stay with the emptiness, with that suspension of the exhale, keeping your rib cage, your sternum lifted. And stay with it just as long as you don't struggle. See if you can relax into the need for air. If you can soften into that tug for the inhale, but without struggling with it. Inquiring into what does it feel like to be empty. Physiologically, this is akin to death, not having breath in the body. So we're inquiring into what that means to let die, to let go. Your gaze up towards the very top of your head. In these last few breaths with this practice, soften your gaze and let go of the breath entirely. Just let it happen. And see if you can become a little bit more porous, a little bit more spacious, as though you are becoming space. So you're no longer separated from the space around you, no longer aware of the obstacles within you. Be space, watching the breath. Becoming conscious of your hands, very easily and gently bring your palms together into Atmanjali Mudra and notice any sensations in your hands and the connection that your fingertips and your palms make to each other. As you bring your thumbs to your sternum, remind your sternum to lift up if it's collapsed. Settle your shoulders broad onto your back. And as we tune in, see if you can translate that sense of being space into being the mantra. Can you be infinite creative consciousness and divine wisdom? Breathing in for the first of 3. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. As you inhale, lift your arms up, stretch up tall, and as you exhale, reach out wide and back behind you, opening your shoulders, and continue for another couple breaths, opening your shoulders, moving your breath with your arms. As you release your arms down this next exhale, take your legs out in front of you and stretch out through your feet. Push the ground away with your hands behind you. We're coming into Dandasana, which is kind of like the Tadasana of sitting postures. It's the neutral pose of sitting postures. So finding the lordosis in your low back, which may mean, if you're honest, that you have to bend your knees. Energize your feet even if your knees are bent. And feel what's happening in your low back. Feel that you have that curve inwards towards your feet. And once you find that, whatever bend you have in your knees, strengthen your legs as though you're pressing them down into the floor, and then bring your arms up and out, parallel to your legs, shoulders broad on your back. And inhale, tilt back, taking your head back with you, keeping it in line with your spine, feeling where your core engages. And then exhale and just sit up tall. If your knees are bent, just focus on sitting up tall and lifting your sternum up, growing up out of your sits bones. If your legs are long, only if your legs are long, then begin to tilt forward, pivoting at your hips so that you're not rounding from your low back. Inhale, tilt back, exhale, lift up, or if you can, tilt forward, but don't force it. Let the energy of this movement and your breath dynamically helping you move start to open up the backs of the legs, but do it little by little, not all at once. Inhale back, exhale, up or forward. Strong breath through your nose, clearing out your sinuses. Jaw relaxed. If you feel clear on what you're doing, feel free to close your eyes. Imagine you're rowing your boat. This is called rowboat. So imagine you're rowing your boat along a body of water that you love, and it's worth the energy, worth the effort. And then bringing yourself right up tall, right up above your sits bones. Take a breath in, suspend the breath. Imagine you have little thumbtacks underneath your butt cheeks and see if you can grow a little bit taller from your seat upwards through the top of your head. Pause, and then release as you exhale. Bring your hands behind you. You may want to shake your legs out. And bringing yourself down onto your back into Shavasana, corpse pose, dead body pose. So playing again with the cycle of things, having just moved and engaged, created energy, now let yourself drop down and see what you can let go of, starting to become really efficient at the skill of letting go. How quickly can you drop into the groove of softer muscles, more spacious joints, and easier breath? Taking your attention to your breath. And begin to deepen your breathing. So you're shifting into Ujjayi Pranayama. Within your relaxed body, notice the change that the breath makes. We're going to take a slower, deeper stretch into the backs of the legs with hamstring stretch. So this next time that you exhale, draw your belly down into your back, stabilize your low back, and use that to bring your legs up off the ground. Feel free to bend your knees. And hook your big toes with your first 2 fingers, holding tight to your big toes. Start to stretch the heels of your feet up towards the sky. As you're moving into the stretch, into the sensation in the backs of your legs, find the alignment. So before you get too deep into it, that it's hard to adjust, bring your feet parallel, middle toes, middle ankles, middle knees, front hip bones aligned, so you have roughly a fist width of space between your feet. And then start to reach your heels up, deepen your breathing as though your breath has access to that stretch in the backs of your legs. If you're a little bit more flexible, you can hold the whole ball of your foot with your fingertips on each side. And as you start to find a little bit more length through your legs, may not be today, but if you're finding a little bit more length, then activate your quadricep muscles to move your thigh bones away from your belly. Tilt your tailbone back towards the ground, broadening your sacrum and your low back into the ground, and just go to the extent that you can breathe, listening for that steady ocean-sounding breath. Giving the backs of your legs a little bit more nourishment with your breath, with your attention, with your willingness to stay in that intensity. Now that we have a little bit more length in the legs, let go of your feet, activate them as you bring your knees right above your hips, coming into yogi lifts. Bring your interlaced fingers behind your head and lift your head up. Clear your shoulders from your neck and look at the breath that you've just been cultivating in your belly. See your belly rise. Pause once it's expanded and pull your belly down before you exhale, and then exhale and amplify that. Pull your belly deep into your back, curl your tailbone up, squeeze your inner thighs towards each other, and move that right up through your feet. Spread your 10 toes out away from each other. And then soften on your inhale. Take a break. Keep the inhale really long so you have time to rest before you move into the next engagement. Jaw relaxed, you're not yanking your neck. Doing 4 of these. Looking at your belly, even as your legs lengthen, you can glance at your legs, see that they're energized, that they're moving in towards each other and up towards the sky and spreading 10 toes out at the top of that exhale. But then look down and see that your belly's pulled down. It's not following your legs up. Being willing to engage with this intensity, to activate at your core, and to radiate up into your pelvis and your legs, out through your toes. This next exhale, release your head into your hands, let your elbows open, notice how your shoulders feel, soften your feet towards your bum, off the ground or on the ground. Take a few breaths, integrating what you've just done, what you've just woken up at your navel center. We're going to come up for just 2 of this higher set. So legs are the same, but as you bring your upper body off the ground, pull your elbows up towards the level of your knees, bring your upper arms closer to your thighs, and then same exact breathing and movement into the legs. But as you exhale and lengthen your legs, pull your elbows up. Shoulder blades are off the ground. You're not yanking your neck though. You're just engaging abdominal muscles up towards solar plexus where ribs meet. Last one, really slow and steady. When you finish this one, bring yourself down, long legs on the ground, rest your head, and breathe into your belly as you bring your hands to your butt cheeks and pull your butt up towards your shoulders so that you create that lordosis, that curve in your low back, and you feel like you're more on your sits bones than on your sacrum. And then energize your legs just like you had them in yogi lifts. So together, feet active, pressing through the balls of your feet like you have high heels on, and then hug your thighs with your palms of your hands. Press your elbows into the ground to lift your shoulders and your sternum up, coming up towards the top of your head, but instead of being on the top of your head, as many people tend to do this fish pose, Matsyasana, find where you're on the space between the top and the back of your head. So the back of your neck still has an easy curve in it. You're not scrunching up the back of your neck. If you have any issues in your neck, be really confident about pressing down through your elbows or adjust to where you feel confident. If you have any doubt or concern, come back down. If you're feeling confident, you can feel the backs of your legs pressing down into the ground, tops of your thighs, pressing your thigh bones down into the ground, feet active, core strong, and you want to take your hands up off the ground. Then lift your palms up towards the ceiling, palms together, reach up, and if you want to, you can invert your hands, bringing your fingertips towards your sternum. So it's like you have little fins in this fish posture. If that doesn't feel confident for you, that doesn't feel wise for you, then stay with your elbows on the ground and use your arm strength, elbows pressing down, forearms pressing down to help lift your sternum and to lift weight out of your head. Find your inhale in that lift of your sternum. Your exhale, press the floor away with your legs. You have a lot of foundation here, so use it to lift weight out of your head. This next time that you inhale, if your arms are up, bring them back down, push the ground away with your forearms, with your elbows, and find a little bit more expansion through your chest, through your sternum. And then as you exhale, tuck your chin towards your chest. You may have to lift your head slightly if you get stuck. But find where your neck releases down, your head releases down, and your upper back broadens into the ground. You may need to adjust your butt cheeks again so that your low back is comfortable. Releasing here into Shavasana. So dying down, dropping down in order to integrate, in order to let what you've just done take effect. Noticing what you're feeling, where's the energy, where's the movement, and how is your breath. Watching your breath happen. And then deepening your breathing. If you have let your breath go, shift back into Ujjayi Pranayam. So you're coming back to life in this corpse pose, dead body pose, from the breath expanding from the center of you outwards. And feeling on the exhale that your belly drops down into your back. And the next time that you feel that you stabilize your low back with your core, with your low front, then use that to bring your legs up off the ground and align your knees up above your hips. If you have tightness in the backs of your legs, then your knees might be bent and be more over your belly. So find where it feels like your ankles are then above your hips and check in with your low back. Find where you have that lordosis, that natural upwards curve away from the floor of your low back, which may mean that you need to tilt your tailbone towards the ground a little bit more. And as you find that in your low back, find whatever length in your legs doesn't disturb that in your low back, and energize your feet like they're standing on the ceiling. So drawing your toes down, bringing the balls of your feet more level with your heels. And then once you get that foundation in your sacrum, that right angle at your hips, even if your knees are bent, bring your arms up above your head and reach long through your fingers. So this right angle at the hips we're going to do a number of different times in different relationships to the floor and with different relationships to the pull of gravity. So from here, focus on reaching your heels up, tilting your tailbone, pressing your sacrum down. And then also become aware of your shoulders, broad underneath you, lengthen through your elbows, through your fingers, tuck your thumbs in towards your palms so that your hands are a little bit more level with your shoulders. So this is the same as what we're going to do later on with Dandasana, Paschimottanasana, of sitting up tall. See if you can use the floor here to find your alignment without having to hold yourself up. This next time that you inhale, add your arms in, bring them up above your shoulders, so they're parallel to your legs, palms facing each other, keeping your shoulders broad underneath you. Dead bug pose. Really simple posture. From the outside, looks like you're not doing much of anything, but see if you can feel that as you inhale, you breathe from the foundation of your body on the ground, and then exhale from that up through your legs. That's where the energy is going to be. The arms are easy. And now shake it out. Shake your arms and legs really loose so the muscles are loose on the bones. Get a little crazy here. Laugh as hysterically as you can. And if you have to fake it, fake it. Initially, you might have to just laugh along with me or laugh from your belly as an abdominal exercise. But then let yourself go. See if you can let go of any seriousness, taking yourself too seriously. This is what I think of as a more advanced posture. If you have an ability to laugh automatically on command, that to me is more advanced. Shaking it out. When you start to feel it dying down, can you take it a little bit farther? Can you keep going with it? And then tucking down into yourself, draw your legs down, breathe, take that in. Notice what that feels like. Even if you had to fake it, you're releasing endorphins in your body. Your body doesn't know the difference between a real laugh and a fake laugh sometimes. So you reap the benefits, the effects of that, even if you didn't feel it in the moment. As you breathe a little bit deeper, start to massage your back. That might be side to side if that's the smartest thing for you, or if you're comfortable with it, move along the length of your spine. Start by holding the backs of your thighs, and then if you're moving along the length of your spine and you can control that movement so you're not putting pressure on your neck, you're able to stop at your sits bones in balance, you might play with taking your hands lower to your calves or your ankles, or even holding on to your toes. But if you're flumping, if you're putting pressure on your neck, then stay with holding where you have more control. Use your breath with this. Inhale one way, exhale the other. And this next time that you inhale and come up, if you're not already holding your big toes, hook your big toes just like you do for hamstring stretch. This is essentially hamstring stretch balanced on your sits bones. Start to lengthen up through your heels. It's going to require balance. So look between your legs, past your legs, find a point to focus your gaze on that's not going to move, so that you anchor yourself in space. And then use that hold on your toes. And if you're not holding your toes, hold your ankles or your calves or even the back of your thighs. Work with whatever variation of upward facing boat you can breathe into, and start to find that lift through your low back, shoulders coming broad onto your back. So playing with lifting yourself up out of the ground, drawing your shoulders down. Use the hold on your legs to help you draw up. This is what we're going to play with later on as well. So starting to find it here, even though you're balancing. Breathe steadily, jaw relaxed. If you find that you roll back onto your tailbone, just start again. Keep lifting up onto your sits bones, playing with that dynamic balancing. This next time that you exhale, release down into essentially bound angle. So you're bringing your feet together, knees out to the sides. Find where you're lifting through your spine and hook your big toes if you can, or do the alternate version just like you did an upward facing boat of holding somewhere else along your legs, wherever works for you to help lift your torso up, slide your shoulders down, and also lengthen your legs. And then again, you're balancing here on your sits bones, on this tripod of bones, 2 sits bones and tailbone, but focusing on lifting more up onto your sits bones. And then we're adding into this another element, breath of fire. If breath of fire doesn't work for you, just stay with long, deep breathing. So you have several ways to adjust this posture, this Kundalini lotus posture. Focus your gaze again to help your balance. And then if it works for you, and you haven't already, add breath of fire in. So it's dynamic breath in and out through the nose. Complete breath in and out. You find the pace that works for you. If I'm going faster or slower, you adjust to where you can sustain that pace. If you get lightheaded, come back to long, deep breathing. How to remain calm in the midst of the intensity of holding yourself up and open, and also with this dynamic breathing. And then take a big breath in and suspend the breath. Engage Mula Bandha. See if you can grow a little taller. If you feel balanced, you can try closing your eyes here. And then as you exhale, release, bringing yourself back into bound angle. Make a transition to coming up onto your feet towards the front edge of your mat. Take your time to find that transition. And set your feet in Tadasana, mountain stance, about a fist width apart, parallel to each other. So you have toes, ankles, knees, front hips. And then bend your right knee and place one hand on top of the other, just above your knee, as you lift all 10 toes and move that lift up through your left leg. Lift your front thigh in the front and your sits bones in the back. Your left hip's going to be higher than your right because your right knee is bent. As you inhale and you lengthen your spine out, stretch the top of your head away from your tailbone, find your cow pose, where your low back is long, your shoulders are broad on your back. And then as you exhale, tilt from your sits bones, staying up, down through the length of your spine, dropping your head down. So you're focusing on opening the back of that left thigh. Your hands can come up higher. If they need to come up to the top of your thigh for the integrity of your low back, then make that adjustment. Inhale, lengthen out, draw your shoulders back, feel that long line from your tailbone to the top of your head. See if you can find the connectivity of your whole body from one end to the other. Exhale, release down, and just release down as far as you can breathe into. This next time that you inhale, switch sides. Bend your left knee, bring your hands just above your knee or come up higher if you need to. Lift up through your right kneecap, right thigh muscle. Now with this movement, if you have any fear or history, injury in your hamstrings or your low back, try engaging Mula Bandha to stabilize that area. If that doesn't ease it out, doesn't give you more sense of safety, a greater sense of safety, then you can soften your right knee a little bit. But the more you lift that kneecap, the more you open the hamstring in the back. You're moving your spine with your breath. It's the same as cat and cow, but moving that into the stretch of the hamstring. This next time that you inhale, you're going to move into both. So if you're honest, your hands might need to come up higher. Double check your low back. Find out what's happening. A fellow yogini calls these postures the alternate leg and then the double leg pin-up pose. So see if you can find a sense of sticking your butt out and back, your chest out in front. As you inhale and draw out, slide your shoulders back, long line, curved line from your tailbone to your head. And then exhale, let that line curve the other way as you drop your head down towards your toes without dropping your toes or your kneecaps. Think of inhaling up from your heels, through your legs, finding space in the joints of your legs. And this next time you exhale, release into standing tuck. So keeping your feet, release your toes, bend your knees deeply enough that you can rest your chest on your thighs, and then wrap your hands behind your heels and your elbows behind your calves. Use that hold where you point your elbows towards the back edge of the mat to help you keep your chest connected to your thighs, and then only lift your sits bones as much as you don't disconnect. Bring your shoulder blades onto your back. Breathe into your low back, into your hamstrings. You can keep it really relaxed, or you can go a little deeper into it. Next time you exhale, make a transition into your right lunge. So stepping your left foot back. We're going to move into a circuit of postures. And our theme here is that no matter where you go, there you are. We'll start here with where your feet are, finding your alignment front to back, left to right, that your left leg is long, and your right knee is over your ankle, your hands back by your heel so that your shoulders are clear, shoulders are broad. Energize your legs and your core to take weight out of your hands so that then when you bring your left hand down underneath your shoulder, you're not putting a lot of weight into it. Bring your right hand to the outside of your right knee to help keep your knee over your ankle. And then inhale and traction your rib cage long as you lift your toes and take the top of your head towards the front edge of the mat and your left heel towards the back edge of the mat. And then as you exhale, twist towards your thigh. Use your hand on the outside of your right knee to turn your torso towards your thigh, the midline of your torso coming towards your thigh. If your knee will stay stable and you want to, you can take your right hand up into the air. See if you can find space in your left shoulder joint so you're not sinking down into that hand. Push the ground away. See if you can feel that long line from your left heel to the top of your head and out through your right knee. And then also between the hands. So taking any kinking out of your wrist or your shoulder. Align your chin with the midline of your torso. So you might need to look more towards the top right side of the mat than up towards your hand. See if you can feel the space even on either side of your neck. Feeling your legs and your core holding you up here more than your hands. Give it one more inhale. And then as you exhale, fold your right hand down and turn towards the left side of your mat, bringing your feet parallel to each other. So your heels are on the same line, and it's like you're standing on train tracks. Feet parallel, lift your toes, lift your inner arches so you press the outer edges of your feet down. And then lift up through your front thighs and up through your sits bones. Same as you've done before in lifting up through your legs, but with your feet wide. Lengthen out through your head so you're coming right up onto the tips of your fingers. And then bring your left fingertips a little bit more centered underneath your left shoulder, a little bit more to center, and bring your right hand onto your right ribs and start to breathe here into your right rib cage. And as you focus your breath into your right ribs, start to open your right shoulder, right ribs up towards the sky. Notice how when you open up through that right side, the left hip wants to collapse. So if you start to feel a deeper stretch on your inner left thigh, that hip has collapsed. Press down a little more deeply through your left heel and lift that left hip up to keep your hips squared. So your twist is happening at your waist. So it's going to be a little bit less visible, more subtle than you might think. Inhaling and opening up through the right side. If you want to extend your right arm out, feel free. Start by reaching towards the front edge of your mat and finding space through your shoulders between your hands. And then opening up, leveraging your right ribs up, noticing how that wants to affect your hips. And then feel where your head is in relation to the rest of your body. Stretch the top of your head away from your tail, clear your neck space. Minimize weight in your left hand or your fingertips. Give that one more inhale, and then as you exhale, fold your right hand down, turn towards the back edge of your mat, and come into your high lunge here. So left knee over your ankle, right leg long and lifted, heel stretching back, and your hands back by your left heel so that your shoulders clear your neck. Feeling again that long line from head to back heel. Minimize the weight in your hands. Breathe a little deeper. Think of pushing the ground away with the ball of your left foot so you're not sinking down into your knee, especially if you have knee issues. And then we're going to add the twist into this. So bring your right fingertips or your palm down underneath your shoulder so it doesn't come closer to your left foot. And left hand on the outside of your left knee. Lift your left toe tips and inhale, lengthen, traction your rib cage longer. See if you can grow your head away from your right heel. And then exhale and turn towards your left thigh. Use your hand to help you find that leverage, that twist, keeping your knee aligned over your ankle. And then if you feel that that inner thigh is strong enough to hold your knee right over your ankle, it's not going to sway out to the side, and you want to, you can take your left arm up. Even if your hand stays on your knee, lighten the weight in your right hand. Push the ground away with your fingertips or your palm. Find some space in your right shoulder joint. And then see if you can feel that long lines, the sacred geometry here in your body. So you're making a cross shape. Lengthening from your back heel to the top of your head. And if you're looking up towards your left hand, try realigning your chin, your nose with the midline of your torso. So you may need to look more towards the front left corner of your mat, which will help your balance as well. You're turning from your waist instead of from your chin. Give that one more inhale. And then as you exhale, fold down and step back and come into modified down dog. Double check your foundation, your hands line up, your fingers are spread out, and your toes line up. And then lift your heels up really high, right up above the balls of your feet, to facilitate lifting your sits bones, your tailbone up towards the sky, keeping your knees bent. So you're essentially doing a standing tuck posture with your hands and feet much farther from each other. Once you get that tilt of your tailbone up, you're starting to find that lordosis in your low back as much as works for you. Then start to lengthen through your legs, keeping your ears between your arms, so you're not losing your head, and your shoulders on your back. See if you can feel that this posture, even though you're familiar with it in different practices, is the same posture, the same right angle at the hips that we've been working with throughout this practice. It's just a different relationship to the ground. So see if you can feel that length through your low back as you lengthen through your legs. Prioritize the low back over the legs. This next time that you exhale, curve your way forward and float down into plank, bringing your rib cage down between your upper arms. From your head to your heels, finding that long line in your body. See if you can see yourself from inside as well as outside and create that long line that's propped up on strong arms, pushing the ground away, and strong front thighs lifting up from underneath. This next time that you exhale, push the ground away, lift up with your belly, draw back with your thighs, and transition back into modified down dog, and from that into your fuller down dog. Being aware again of that play between lengthening the legs and how it affects the low back. So finding whatever bend in your knees you need to lengthen your low back. Give that a couple more breaths. This next time that you inhale, lift your right leg up just enough to transition your way onto 3 paws. Look ahead and step up into your high lunge, your right lunge. And find that a little bit quicker since you've done this right lunge already and stayed in it longer. So find your alignment, left to right, front to back, where your hands need to be. Lighten the weight in your hands, lift up through your left thigh, lengthen from your back heel to the top of your head, clear your shoulders. And as you find less weight in your hands, we're going to add the arms in, create wings again, but this time we're going to align the right arm and the right leg. So as you bring your right palm or fingertips down, or use a block if you are, then press your arm and leg together and feel how the knee pressing out lifts the arch. And to facilitate that alignment and support through the knee, lift your toes. And then feel your ribs on your left side with your left hand. Feel that you're breathing and open your ribs and your shoulder up. And then when you're ready, lift your arm up and find the long line from the right hand to the left fingers, long line from your head to your heel in that back leg. Give that one more inhale to lift and lengthen. And as you exhale, fold down and turn towards your left, which is the other side of the mat, coming into tripod twist. So you're bringing your feet onto your train tracks. And then lifting up through toes, front thighs, and then sits bones and back. And finding where you're pressing down through your heels, lifting up through your sits bones. You're making a triangle with the floor. Again, the sacred geometry. Feel the evenness of the weight in your feet and press down evenly to lift up long through your legs. Lengthen out through your spine. Bring your torso more into a tabletop than a slide. And align your right fingertips just slightly in from your shoulder, a little bit more centered. Fingertips or palm on the ground. Find your breath in your left ribs. And start to open your left shoulder, left ribs up slowly so that you can feel the effect that has on your hips. See if you can keep the twist in your waist. If you feel an increased inner right thigh stretch, then your hips have come out of line. So press down through that right heel, lift that right hip up, even your hips out. Let the twist be a little less subtle to keep the integrity of your legs, of your foundation. And then when you find that, lengthen out through your left arm. You may need to reach towards the left foot to broaden your shoulders onto your back. Keep your wrists long, shoulders broad, less weight in your hand, your right hand. And then take your head away from your tail, long line, stretching out. Give that one more inhale. As you exhale, transition into your left lunge. So you're now back to where you started, facing off what was the front of your mat at the beginning. And notice where you are here. Find your distance, left to right, front to back. Where's your foundation? Lifting up out of that strong back thigh and your core. Lifting weight out of your hands. Clear your shoulders from your neck. Again, feeling those long lines. How much space can you open up? Front to back, left to right. And then we're going to add in the wings. So bringing your left fingertips or palm down. Lift your left toes up. Press your knee and your arm together. Find your breathing in your right ribs. And as you start to open up through that right shoulder, right ribs, notice how the right heel wants to drop into the midline. Stretch it straight back. Keep that long line from your heel to your head, finding the twist at the waist. Once you find that, you can breathe into it. Your knee is pressed into your arm so your arch hasn't collapsed. Then if you want to, take your arm up. And instead of looking up towards your hand, or if you need to, look up, check that your wrist is long, but then look towards the front right corner of your mat so that you have even space around your neck. Your head is in line with the rest of your spine. Give that one more inhale to lift and open, long lines. And then as you exhale, transition your way into modified down dog. Check your hands. Spread your fingers out broad on the ground, your shoulders broad on your back. Align your ears with your arms. Check your toes line up, lift your heels up, tilt your sits bones up, folding your front hip bones into the flesh of your thighs. See if you can keep that angle in your hips as you stretch your heels towards the ground, bringing your mind into that right angle, into that area in your pelvis so that you can feel what's happening there. And this next time that you exhale, transition forward into plank. You may need to adjust your distance front to back so that your shoulders are over your palms, heels are over the balls of your feet. Long, strong line from head to heels. Give it a big breath to inhabit, and then use your exhale to transition back through modified down dog into your fuller down dog. But that doesn't sacrifice the low back. Noticing if your shoulders want to move towards your feet more than your low back wants to move towards your thighs. So see if you can keep your shoulders opening but not sinking. And breathing from your hands up to your hips. And on the exhale, breathing from your hips down through your heels. See if you can remember how in round one we played with the same posture on your back, where you could feel your arms, your head, your shoulders, and your sacrum on the ground, and your legs were stretching up from there. So now you've flipped upside down. You have only your hands and your feet on the ground, but can you, in your mind's eye, feel that your wrists, your shoulders, and your sacrum are all in the same plane, and then you're only lengthening your legs as much as your low back doesn't pop up through that plane. So you're keeping your low back dropping down. Give that one more breath, lifting up and out of the ground instead of sinking into it. And then as you exhale next, release down into child. Allow yourself to sink down, to integrate, to take in all of what you've just done. That circuit of moving, holding yourself up off the ground, moving through sacred geometry, triangles, angles, lines. Now settle down into a small round ball. And then to open up the shoulders in case they got tight, in case they were trying to do everything, we're going to move into Sarsangasana, rabbit pose. Hold on to the heels of your feet. And in this, we can safely bring the top of the head to the ground. So roll your forehead in towards your knees. Be sure you're on the top of your head, not your forehead, so your neck is long. If this doesn't work for you, do the upright version of rabbit. And then press your shins down into the ground to stabilize your foundation. Lift your belly up into your low back. And to take this deeper, let your arms lengthen so you traction your shoulder blades wider and breathe in between your shoulder blades. Focus your breath into your upper back. With your next exhale, release back down into child. Notice any sense of increased circulation, blood in your head. Settling your forehead on the ground if you can. Take in the effects of rabbit pose. And then we're going to uncurl here and come into quadricep stretch. So as you deepen your breathing, if you'd let it go, deepen it again. Use your next inhale to uncurl, bring yourself up. If you're able to stay on your shins, great. Just lean back into your hands. If you need to support your knees, come up onto the balls of your feet, knees off the ground. Once you find your weight in your hands, fingers pointing whichever way works for your wrists and shoulders, then look down, see your pelvis. We've been working with creating that right angle. So we're going to play here with really opening that right angle out, stretching the quadricep muscles. So draw your low belly in and up, aim your tailbone towards your heels. Check to see that your knees are in line with your front hips. You're scooping your butt cheeks towards the back of your knees. Breathe as though you're breathing into your quadriceps. And then the next time that you exhale, bring your hands forward, bring yourself forward into your right lunge. We're going to repeat that same circuit that we did last time of turning on the mat in different poses, but we're going to do a little bit more quickly. So find your right lunge. Bring your left hand down, right hand to the outside of your knee. Inhale, lengthen from your back heel to your head. Exhale, turn your torso towards your right thigh. And then inhale into the twist and take your right arm up and lighten the weight in your left hand, finding a long line from hand to hand and from head to back heel. Next time that you exhale, fold down and turn towards the left, coming into your tripod twist. Find where your heels align, toes lifted. Move that lift up through your thighs and your sits bones, right up and out through your torso. Minimize the weight in your left hand as you bring it under your shoulder. Find your breathing in your right ribs as you open your right shoulder up. As you take your right arm up, find the distance between your hands, space around your shoulders, stretch your head away from your tail, press your heels into the ground, give it one more inhale, and then exhale and transition to left lunge, facing off the back edge of the mat. Find your alignment a little more quickly. Lift out of your foundation and then bring your wings into it. Right hand down under your shoulder, left hand to the outside of your knee. Inhale, lengthen your head away from your heel, your torso long. Exhale, twist. Inhale, lengthen your left hand up away from your right hand and your head away from your heel. Exhale, come down, step back into your down dog. Start by modifying, tilting your tail up. Check your foundation and hands and feet, and then stretch long through your legs. Use your next exhale to roll forward into plank. Double check your distance front to back. Lift from underneath. And this next time that you exhale, lift from underneath and draw up and back through modified down dog into your fuller down dog. Inhale into the posture, inhabit it, long lines from hands to hips, hips to heels. And then next time you inhale, lift your right foot just enough to step forward into your right lunge. And this time align your right hand with your right leg, opening up through your left ribs, left shoulder, and add your wings in, stretching up through your left fingertips. Find your right arch lifted. Long line from your head to your heel. Where's your gaze? Where do you need to clear your neck? Take a breath into that. Use your exhale to turn towards your left. Come into tripod twist. Double check your foundation in your feet and then lift up through there, through your toes, your thighs, your sits bones, and then out from your sits bones through the top of your head. Find your right palm or fingertips on the ground. Open up through your left ribs and shoulders without your hips dropping, especially that right hip. So lifting up through the right hip as you open through the left shoulder. Find the length of your arms, space in your shoulders. Give it an inhale and then exhale, transition to face off the front in your left lunge. Lighten the weight in your hands, and then add your wings in once you find the foundation in your feet and your core. Left arm and leg strong together, opening your right ribs and shoulder up, keeping the long line of your right heel stretching back, head stretching forward. Once you know where your right hand is, then align your head with the middle of your torso. Give it another in-breath, and then as you exhale, transition your way, this time forward instead of back. So you're coming into your standing spinal flex. Lift your toe tips up, thigh muscles, sits bones up. Feel free to engage Mula Bandha here. Find where your hands need to be, that your low back is long. Give that one more inhale to stretch out, and then as you exhale, release your way down and come into spinal flex with your feet on the ground, knees bent. Noticing what it is you need to ease out along your spine. And then adding into this the neck. So the next time that you lift up on your inhale, roll your head to the right, breathe into the left side of your neck. And then as you exhale, slowly roll back. And as you inhale up the next time, release your head towards the left, breathing up into the right side of your neck, using your arms to lift your sternum, shoulders broad on your back. And as you exhale, roll back, open across your upper back, pull your belly in to open your low back, and then inhale and lift up, and take your legs out. And we're working with props if you have them. If you have a strap, bring it around your legs. If you don't have a strap, then you can do this just as easily. If you find that you need to bend your knees, you might want to put your rolled mat underneath your knees to help have something to press down into. So we're starting out with Dandasana, which we did way back in round 1. But it's the same right angle at the hips that we've been playing with throughout. Use your hands behind you to push the ground away and find where you have the lordosis in your low back, which may mean, if you're honest, that you need to bend your knees. Again, you may want to have something underneath your knees to press down into. Lengthening out through your legs just as much as your low back doesn't round. Energize your feet, so you have your 4 corners of your feet as though they're pressed up against a wall. And then see what you need to engage through your legs and through your core so that you can take your hands off the ground and bring your arms up to frame your head. So this is the same posture that you did on your back with your legs in the air. It's also the same as down dog. So see if you can start to feel that your wrists are in line with your shoulders or in line with your hips. And then whatever length in your legs doesn't pull your low back out of its lordosis. And then breathing here, simply sitting tall. Press down through your legs, out through your feet, and as you inhale, lift up through your spine. If you're just working length through your legs, then don't worry about tilting forward. Stay with just sitting up tall. That's enough. That's plenty. Start to stretch through the lengths of your legs if you can. If your legs are already long, you have more flexibility in your hamstrings, think of being a second hand on a clock. And as you exhale, tilt forward from your hips, keeping your arms in your peripheral vision. So if you start to see them, then you've probably gone too far. When you get to that point where your arms are collapsing, your arms are rolling forward, then bring them down. And when you bring your hands down, we're going to undulate the spine. So we're going to go from existing, being, to now flowing a little bit more into the movement, into the body. So as you inhale, draw forward just like you would for cow pose. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back. And as you exhale, let your back round, let your head release. And notice this is the same thing that you did in that pin-up pose. It's the same movement, but instead of being on your feet, you're on the whole backs of your legs. So press the whole backs of your legs down. You have a much bigger foundation. Use it. Draw yourself up and out from that foundation as you inhale and lengthen. Draw your shoulders back. Look ahead, see what your feet are doing. Readjust them if they're not engaged. And as you exhale next, let your arms go. Imagine that you don't have arms. Let them go, but see if you can keep the legs and the feet engaged and then leverage from that foundation up and out through your core, drawing your shoulders back as you inhale and then letting your head release as much as you're able to. It's going to take you intensely into the backs of the legs and along the back of the spine, so check that you can breathe into it. So this next time that you exhale, see if you can let go of your head and then also let go of your feet. We're dropping down into the letting go, the dying part of the cycle here. And yet what's alive, what's active is your breath internally. So letting go of any action in your legs and in your arms, but still feeling that undulation, that inchworming action along your spine. Without making it too big, just let it inch yourself a little deeper, a little more release towards your legs. Keeping the fullness of the breath, so you haven't stopped breathing. And then see what happens if you let go of the breath. If you let it simply happen, watch the breath and notice if you're holding yourself up. Is that an area that you can let go, that you can let soften? Maybe, maybe not. Inquire. We're going to come out of this dying down into stillness, into not doing, and start to re-emerge, but slowly and conscientiously. So let your legs stay relaxed. Use your hands to press the ground away. Uncurl, letting your head come up last, and see if you can find space along the length of your spine as you come up, as though the back of your head's being lifted up. And as you emerge, bring your hands behind you and reset your Dandasana, your staff pose. So your feet are squared, your knees are bent however much they need to be so that you have the curve in your low back. Check it out. Find out what's actually happening back there. Since you can't see it, feel it. And then keep your left leg long and bring the arch of your right foot in line with your left knee. And double check when you release your right knee to the right that your hips are squared forward. It's really easy in this one to shift into a different posture where your hips are moving off the right side of the mat. But for Mahamudra, keep them squared forwards. Whatever bend you need to keep in your left knee to keep your low back long, push the ground away with your legs, dropping your legs down in their different alignments and lifting up through your core. Lift your arms up overhead. So we're starting out with existing, with simply sitting up tall, and yet feeling how intense this can be. So press down and out through your legs and your feet. Energize both feet. Lift up through your core. Find when you look straight ahead that you can't see your arms. They're back in line with your ears. They're in your peripheral vision. So you might need to take them more into a V shape if your shoulders are tight. If you're more flexible and you want to start tilting forward like that second hand of the clock, great. But make sure it's pivoting from your hips and not rounding from your low back, and that you can't see your arms. Give that one more inhale to open front body. And then as you exhale, bring your hands down. Right hand onto your right ankle or shin. Left hand wherever it reaches to on your left leg. When you can then inhale and draw your shoulders broad. Take a few breaths here, focusing on lengthening through your spine. Still drawing yourself long, but using your hands on your legs, or if you have a strap, using your hands on your strap as you press through the ball of your foot, where the strap is, to draw your front body open. And then this next time that you exhale, let your spine release. This doesn't mean collapse. This means to work within the undulation of the breath as it rolls along the length of the spine, and to either use your hands on your legs or on your strap, or if you're flexible enough to reach your foot, to leverage and lengthen your spine, not force it, but to support it. So press down through your legs, lift up through your core, see if you can leverage your waist out of your hips, out of your legs, and then as you exhale, release down towards your legs, down towards the ground. Inhaling and drawing out, inching your way, your torso along your left thigh, exhale, releasing down. And now letting yourself release down more and more. Start by letting go of your arms. Dropping your arms. Notice how much they were trying to do it. See if you can do it from your legs, from your core, and less from your arms. And then as you drop your head down and you continue to breathe deeply, see if you can let go of the left leg. Soften your feet. Let go of the engagement in your legs and follow the pull of gravity. Allow your torso to drop down, yet keep the breath full because that's intense, so breathe into the sensation. If you're not hearing your breath, you might need to press a little bit with your hands so that you don't go so far down that you can't be there. And then see if you can let go of the breath. Can you be there and just let the breath happen, letting go of Ujjayi Pranayama. Re-emerging, coming back to life slowly, consciously, keeping your legs relaxed, push the ground away with your hands, uncurl, and as you come up, help your right leg in and up, gather it up, and lengthen out, coming back into Dandasana. Notice any difference between the two legs. We focused on opening the back of that left leg and the right hip. Can you feel that? As you find the length of the right leg, whatever bend in your knee you need to prioritize the integrity in the low back. Then bend your left knee, draw your arch in line with your right knee. If you bring it up too much higher, your hips come out of line. See if you can feel your front hips are squaring towards the front edge of the mat instead of off to the left side. And then press down through your legs, even if your right knee is bent. Energize your right quadricep, your thigh. Press out through your foot, down through that outer left thigh, and use that to lift up through your waist. Arms now up overhead. Find where you can't see your arms, so you may need to take them into more of a V shape. Press down to rise up, lengthening through elbows and fingers. And then beginning to come forward, if you can, without rounding your low back. It might be that you're still focused on sitting up. If you have a strap, use your strap around the ball of your foot. Find where your shoulders are broad, arms are long. So there's less work in your arms, more of a direct connection from your shoulders to the ball of your right foot. If you don't have a strap, then just connect with your hands to your legs. Take a few breaths, then undulating your spine, drawing your chest forward, shoulders back, look ahead, see where your foot is. Whether you're touching it or not, see where the alignment is. Readjust it each time you inhale, and then exhale, drop into the depth of what you're feeling. This next time that you exhale, drop your arms as though you no longer have any. This is an inchworm action. It's like being a snake, the Ouroboros, biting its tail. So you're inching your one end towards the other, your head towards your foot, but not forcing that. It's with the integrity of being able to breathe into it and inhabit it. As you drop your arms, continue to inch your spine. And then the next exhale, release your head, release the weight of your head, and relax your right foot and your leg. Relax your left foot and that thigh. Feel gravity. How much are you holding yourself up away from the ground, and now can you sink down into the ground? Be heavier. Let go. Quit doing stuff. This is one of the harder things to find. It's a little bit more challenging to figure out how to let go. We know how to engage and contract and do things. See what it feels like to quit doing things and yet to stay present. Letting go of your breath if you're still breathing. Just let your breath happen. And then start breathing again a little more deeply. Ujjayi pranayama. Use your hands to re-emerge. Coming up lightly. You might feel a bit spacey when you go into the depth of these forward folds. So that's natural. Take time to come out. And as you come out, help your right leg in. Bring the soles of your feet together, the flesh of your bum out, coming into bound angle, Baddha Konasana. And we're going to work with that same awareness in the spine, same sense of coming into the forward folds like an inchworm. So once you've aligned your feet, they match up, and your heels or whatever distance from your pelvis, you can then draw your sternum up. Find that lordosis in your low back. Then exhale and drop your knees down. Notice the relationship between low back and hips. And this next time that you inhale and you draw out, then exhale and let your back round. Let your head release as much as you can breathe into. And settle your elbows onto your legs, onto your shins or your thighs or your knees, wherever they connect to. And as you inhale and you draw forward, think of your arms like brackets or like parentheses that you're creating a sentence between. The sentence is that undulation, that lengthening out as you inhale and releasing down as you exhale. Seeing where you go, accepting where you are, breathing into that, and then you might find that you can ease out a little bit farther. But if you try forcing it from the start, without that level of acceptance, you're more likely to damage or hurt yourself. So take it slow and easy. Next time that you exhale, release. You can let your hands drop down above your head. If your knees are high, your hips are tight, you might want to continue to hold on to your ankles so you feel like you're not rolling backwards. But then again, see if you can die down, drop down, let go. And when you breathe in next, let that start to lift you up. Push the ground away with your hands. Emerge easily, lightly, so you're not lifting yourself up by your neck or your jaw. As you come upright, we're going to set up some props. If you have a bolster, put it behind you. If you don't have a bolster, you can try tying up some pillows and creating a bolster out of what you have. Be sure, first of all, that you're going to be warm. So if you are indeed practicing this winter practice in winter, you might need socks or blanket to put over your lower body. And then bring the blocks, or if you have pillows, underneath your knees or your thighs, so that they're the same height. There's oftentimes one hip that's tighter, one knee that's higher. So if you can tell which one that is, bring the other knee up to match it. Give your pelvis a chance to calibrate back to evenness. So then when you find where your lower body is warm and aligned, then ease your way back over the bolster, using your hands to help you ease back. And as you come back, if it feels like, especially with all of that work we did in strengthening right along the low back, that it's too much for your low back, then you might tilt your tailbone forward or move the bolster back so it's not directly under your low back. Give it a few breaths here to see if you can sink down, if you can let go, and if those muscles in your low back will release. And if they don't, if it's too much, even as much as you're consciously letting go, then again, just come off the bolster. Come onto your back, allow your back to sink fully into the ground in corpse pose, dead body, Shavasana. Supta Baddha Konasana, or supported bound angle over the bolster, enables the hips and the shoulders to open passively. So in order for that to happen, we need to support it. If you're lying over the bolster, you've found that that's going to work for you, then to open the upper mantle and the shoulders and the chest and the upper back, take your arms out or up. Find a place that's slightly intense that you have to breathe fully into. You're not going to stay here forever. So see what it feels like to be here, to let your arms drop back with the pull of gravity and your breath expand into that area in your upper chest and back and shoulders. How much can you let go with each exhale? When you start to feel some change, you feel there's some more space, some more ease in that place, you can either stay there or you can bring your arms down. If you have something to cover your eyes with, then put that over your eyes. It might be an eye pillow, or you might just have a scarf or something to help you drop into darkness. This winter practice, we're caving, we're going inwards, we're acknowledging what happens in winter, which is that we hibernate more, and taking advantage of that, going inwards. So as you close your eyes and you drop yourself down and in, let go of all of the activity. If at any point you feel you need to adjust and bring yourself down onto your back into corpse pose, do that easily and slowly. But until you get to that awareness, to that point where you know you need to change, accept fully where you are. Drop into it. Notice if your inner thighs are trying to hold your knees up. Let your legs be supported by the blocks. That's why we use them, so those inner thighs can release. They can trust enough to let go. Let your belly, your deep belly, soften with the softened breath as it drops down. settled into Shavasana, then make a very slow transition. Minimize the effort. See if you can roll to one side, reach back, move the bolster out of your way. Readjust your covering so you're going to be warm and you can settle down into stillness again. By this point, becoming quite adept at finding how to let go more quickly. As you continue to rest, I'll read to you the poem Quietness by Rumi. Inside this new love, die. Your way begins on the other side. Become the sky. Take an axe to the prison wall. Escape. Walk out like someone suddenly born into color. Do it now. You're covered with thick clouds. Slide out the side. Die. And be quiet. Quietness is the surest sign that you've died. Your old life was a frantic running from silence. The speechless full moon comes out now. As you become conscious of your breath, if you're not already there, in your breath in your belly, and you breathe, you come back to life. Emerge up easily, effortlessly. We're going to finish with Kirtan Kriya, mantra meditation. It will take us through several different voices, out loud, the whispered voice of the lovers, and then silently, the silent voice to the divine. And then back into a whisper and back out loud. And I'll indicate all of these changes. So first, just find where you're going to be able to sit tall and warm. Keep any coverings that you need. And then we're connecting the Bij mantras, the seed sounds, with the mudras, the symbols in the hands. So when you find where you're comfortably tall, connect your first finger with your thumb for Sa, your second finger with your thumb for Ta, third finger with the thumb for Na, and little finger with the thumb for Ma. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, which is a breakdown of Satnam, which means that you're naming your truth. And in this breakdown, it means this too shall pass. There's an indication here of these cycles that we've been working with, of existence, life coming into being, death. So we're going to start by moving this mantra out loud and see if you can visualize that you're drawing the consonant of the sound in through the top of your head and projecting the ah of the mantra out through the third eye point. So you're making an L shape with the sound in your mind's eye, the same way we made an L shape with the body throughout this practice. Satanama, Satanama, Satanama. Joining in as you get a sense of it. Satanama, Satanama. Finding enough pressure between the thumb and the first finger that you really feel that. It's the same kind of pressure you would use to push a thumbtack into a corkboard. Once you have a sense of what you're doing, close your eyes, take your gaze towards your third eye point, and yet take your mind's eye to seeing the sound come in through the top of the head and out through the third eye. This is called the golden chain, the golden link between the satellite of drawing in from the universe and then projecting out through our inner vision, our insight, the third eye. And now in a whisper, one more, and now continuing the mudras in the hands as you continue the mantra silently. So you're still connecting the tip of your tongue to those places in your mouth, but without making any sound. So we're stimulating nerve endings in the roof of the mouth that help the brain find this sense of cyclical equanimity, that this too shall pass. In this silent practice, this is a good place to play with that visualization of drawing the sound in through the top of the head, projecting it out through the third eye, and to also double check that you're sitting up tall, that you have that long line right up through the back of your skull, top of your head lifting up. Finishing off this one, and we're going to come back into a whisper. And back out loud. Satanama, 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 last one. As you complete the sound, bring your palms to rest up on your legs. Notice any reverberation of the mantra in your mind as you sit still and tall in silence. Being aware of your breath, Keeping your eyes closed. As you inhale, let your arms float up, out and up overhead, bringing the palms of your hands together. And as you start to draw down, touch the heels of your hands down to the top of your head, to that Sahasrara point. And then coming down to your third eye, and to your throat, and to your heart, and to your solar plexus, and your pelvis, and to the ground. So you're connecting in with all 7 energy centers, with yourself. Namaste.